a radio tour, me and my wife, a few years ago, with a song called American Proud. And it was receiving quite a few stations, and we were doing like a 3-state tour, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas, promoting that particular song. And we had just left the radio station, and we were on I-40 West heading toward Arkansas to do another radio interview, and the phone rang. It was my manager. It says, Richard, there's a gentleman in California that really likes your music, and he'd like to do an interview with you. You'll have to do it over the phone. I said, I'm in. So I no sooner hung up the phone, and when the phone rang, and sure enough, this disc jockey in California is going on and on how much you love my music. And he said, Richard, I see how busy you are. And his words were, as busy as you are and you're on the road a lot, he said, the Lord must be with you. And I laughingly said, well, I'd like to think so. And the conversation went on, and we had our great little interview. And toward the end of the interview, he said, Richard, do you mind if we pray on the radio? And I had never been asked that before or since. And this emotion came over me right then and right there, driving down the interstate. And never would there have normally been a pad of paper anywhere in my pickup truck, but there was a pad of paper that day between me and my wife. And never would I find a pen or a pencil anywhere in the truck, but there was a pen right there in the dashboard. Now imagine this old farm boy from Ohio driving down the interstate with a phone to my left ear, trying to write this inspiration, driving down the interstate, and my wife looks at me with 2 big eyes, scared to death, afraid that I'm going to get us both killed. And she grabs a pad of paper, and she grabs a pen, and she commences to write exactly what she hears me say with this particular disc jockey in California. And ultimately, the song was wrote at that very moment doing our radio interview with a gentleman then. The song could not wait anymore. It had to be wrote right then. And so I got the song wrote, recorded, and ultimately it ended on a Christian radio station. And next thing you know, it's being charted all over the place with Christian station. And I'm thankful that happened, because I have a current song now that has kind of went that direction too. I didn't write it with that intention, but it's exactly what's happened with that particular experience before. I got a song now that's being played a lot called Starting Now, and it's being played on a lot of the Christian stations. So it's just amazing how music affects people.
Yes, it is one of those, how do you say it? I'm losing my words, but it's one of those things that it would affect me one way, you another, and so forth and so forth.
That's exactly right. I've wrote songs, and people come to my shows and say, Richard, it's almost as if you wrote that song about me and my life. And I hear that, and it makes me realize that we all have these feelings, and we always have these needs, and we all have these ideas. And just because I wrote it a certain direction for a certain space in my life, that doesn't mean that it doesn't equate to many, many other people. And so I'm very lucky that I get to do that and hear those responses.
Oh, yeah. You make an impact on so many people's lives, all from just telling them the story of yours.
It's very true.
That's nice. I like that. I think it's what we do as creatives, right? We're just telling our story, and all of a sudden someone's like, oh, that felt good.
Yes, exactly right. You know, I like having a positive impact on people, and you know, we mentioned a little bit earlier about my shows and the things that we do. You know, if somebody wants to stay in line and come to my show, they think enough of me to spend their hard-earned money to go to buy a ticket or buy some merchandise, and I'll stay with them till 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I just want to be, you know, I want everybody to know that, you know, I appreciate them so much for, you know, for supporting my music and supporting, you know, what I do. I don't take it for granted, no way, shape, form, or fashion.
I like you, Richard.
Well, thank you. I'm just an old country boy.
My kind of artist.
Thank you.
You've worked with a couple of different Grammy Award winners, right?
Well, I have. I have on my previous album, a lady named Rhonda Vincent. I've always been a huge fan of Rhonda, and she's known as the Queen of Bluegrass. Now, she does a lot of traditional country music also. And we had this song. I did not write this song called "Back in Love Again." A friend of mine, Nick Nichols, wrote the song, and we thought, wow, this would be a great a duet. And we ultimately got in the studio, and he reached out, and my wife reached out to Rhonda, and she's so gracious and so entertaining and so talented. She heard my version of it, and she agreed to to do a duet with me, and we had a lot of success with it. But she's a Grammy Award winner. And I've been lucky. I've worked with a lot of my heroes, people like Ronnie McDowell, who had so many hits in the late '70s and '80s and on into the '90s. People like that that's been on recording sessions with me, and that's if I never achieve much more in life than what I have, that's quite a feather in my hat.
Some people don't get to record, be in the same room as some of their heroes, award winners. How was that first time where someone was like, yeah, I'll do it with you, I'll record with you?
It was actually it floored me actually, because I love what I do, and I take it seriously, but I don't necessarily think that I'm all that. But for someone else to say that I'm good enough to do a recording session with Richard Lynch, that kind of makes you feel good,
Yeah, gives you the tickles. You got to love yourself in that moment. After that call, you got to do the happy dance.
And, those opportunities, they create a lot of opportunities too. It really shows that you're diverse, and you're dedicated to your music, and people of your peers believe in what you're doing, and that can't be a bad thing. That's really created a whole lot of opportunities with radio stations and different shows around the country, and it just puts you it puts you at a level to where you're credible, if that makes any sense.
Yep, sure does. Would you ever retire from music, do you think?
I don't think I would. We don't get promised tomorrow, none of us do, and we never know what kind of health situation occurs in our life. But as long as I'm able to perform and as long as I enjoy what I do, I don't see no need to retire. But the notion that I someday don't do anything don't sit right with me, if that makes any sense. There might be a day where I don't have any say, and I can't do that anymore. But really, as long as God gives me breath and strength, that's what I love to do, and I'll always intend on playing and writing and singing my music.
I can relate. I know that feels, not for music, but I can relate to having something you love that you can't imagine it. It's
what is it that you love? You're connecting with this conversation. You obviously have a direction that's coming to mind there. What is it you like to do?
Oh, I love to dance. Dance is my thing.
All right.
Movement, and just dancing bare feet, and just feeling that music and the rhythms and all, just where it moves your body. That's all me.
I love it. I mentioned earlier how I played the honky tonks in nightclubs all those years. I've seen a lot of dancing in every shape, form, and fashion.
Yep, I would have been right out there honky tonking with them.
My kind of people.
That's neat, though. That is neat. So when you started writing and playing, did you love your first song that you wrote?
I did. I thought it was the greatest song ever was, and then you realize a few years later, boy, that song was stunk. What was you thinking? But I heard an interview that absolutely stuck with me all these years ago, and to this day I remember it. I heard an interview with Chris Christopherson, and his words were, you got to write 1,000 songs before you start getting good at it. Well, I think I'm a lucky guy, because I haven't wrote nowhere near 1,000 songs, and I'm starting to get pretty good at it. But what I'm getting at is, his intentions and what he was saying was that, you don't always write a hit. You don't always write that mega award-winning song, but you continue writing, and
Right.
you learn from what you're doing, and you take a step back and reflect on what you've done and how you can write better and have a little better understanding of the music. And I like to think that I'm getting better, but I love being around people that know, and I love hearing stories of, successful people. And if I can learn something from them successful people, I think that's a good day for me.
Mm. Do you consider yourself one of those successful people?
Oh, I do. I really do. I mean, I had a beautiful farm that I've worked all my life to achieve. I got a beautiful wife who believes in me and supports in me 100%. We have a beautiful barn. I haven't told you this story yet, but I've got a big, beautiful barn on our farm that we bring Grand Ole Opry stars a couple times a year to our own farm, and we'll perform with them, and we'll, bring country
That's
music
cool.
to the country. And, so yeah, there's no question that I'm successful, but I'm still achieving. I'm not satisfied just yet. I haven't achieved all I want to, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. You're still moving. You're still growing.
Yeah, I sure am. I'm doing what I love, and I've done an awful lot, and I do believe that there'll be, bigger fish to fry in the near future, and if you're willing to work and you're willing to do what it takes to create that success, then ultimately you will succeed.
Yes, that is very true. I'm behind you on that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what makes your music different? Well, it's traditional for one, but what makes it so different than the other traditional artists?
Well, and this is just an opinion.
Mm-hmm, of
Um,
course.
I think emotion has been taken out of a lot of today's music, and I want to put that emotion back into my music, whether it's exuberance and you're excited and you're happy, or if you're having that painful heartbreak, or if you whatever that particular emotion is, when you hear that song, I want that music to sound like that exact emotion that I'm singing about.
You want us to get vulnerable with your music.
Yeah, that's all good.
So what's next?
Yes, we're still promoting our current album, and it's doing remarkably well. And we're going to be putting out a new album. I'd say the end of this year or the first of next. I have a lot of we're doing some TV shows with some personalities in Texas, and the RFD Television is a rural it's a national network, but they base their content on traditional country music and rural way of life, and some of the retro country music shows like Hee Haw, and different shows of that era, the 60s, 70s, 80s. They
Mm-hmm.
still kind of run them shows. And so, I've been fortunate that I can be a part of that TV show. And I'm going to be filming another show in Texas in July with a lady named Penny Gilly, and she has her own country music show. And it's filmed out of a awesome little honky tonk in Fort Worth, Texas called Little Reds. And we have an absolute blast down there. So
Sounds like you have a lot of things coming. It sounds like a lot of fun things coming around.
yeah, we really do. Our schedule has really exploded this year, and unfortunately, the corona has put a damper on a lot of our. Well, we got wind of it in March, and that canceled all our March, April, May, and we just lost all our June dates recently. So, but July is full. And currently, as we speak, we're going to be able to start performing again live around the country starting in July and August and September. So our summer is full if we can just get out there and do it. So keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, my fingers are crossed for you.
Thank you.
Any plans on you guys coming out to Colorado?